Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of the MoMA Chat. You can see that we switched up our surroundings, but we're still doing the same thing, having thought provoking conversations, led and powered by the Holy Spirit. How are you feeling, baby?
Good as usual.
Good as usual. All right, so today we are going to talk about children.
Ooh.
Yes, children. Right? Most of us that are adults, most of us have children, right? And in episode 6, we talked about what we believe is the structure of the family. So if you haven't...
Do you want to recap on that?
But before you recap on it, let me tell the people, if you have not watched episode 5, it is or episode 6, it's a good precursor for the chat we're going to have tonight. So check it out if you have not. You can give a recap.
Please remember to share, like, and comment. And thank you for all the wonderful comments coming in. Please keep them coming in. Share them. We want to have people talking about this. We are not professionals. We're just two ordinary people just giving our perspective.
Right.
Well, last time we went over the structure of the family to say that from our perspective, God created a man to be the head of the household, the woman to be the helper, but the man is supposed to love the wife as Christ loved the church.
Right.
So at the end of the day, the man has to do whatever he has to do, because being the church for Christ is the crown jewel, and the wife is the crown jewel. So it is not like the wife is the neck, as I tried to say the last time. You are the crown jewel, the wife is the crown jewel, so we have to look at it that way. The wife also has to be submissive, but submissive from a place of love, not from a place of,
not from a place of force.
Not from a force, because you're supposed to be free. You're supposed to be free to do these things, and when that flow is there, the Spirit of God is always there leading things in the right way. And again, this is not about who is the breadwinner. It's really about the structure.
Right.
And yeah, exactly.
And so the children, so we have the man as the head of the household, the woman,
the visionary.
Yes, the visionary, the woman as the helper, the support system,
the lawmaker,
and then the children underneath. So we talked about how the relationship between the parents, the husband and the wife, it supersedes the relationship that the parents have with the children.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty much the structure. So today we're going to get into children. And I guess the big question with children is, how do you raise your child to be a Christian? How do you raise your child to be spiritual?
Good. I think that's a very good question, because I think there's always this question of where does spirituality really, really, where does spirituality comes into the life of a child, right? And whether should we really be passive with them and just see what they're doing, or should we be a little bit more proactive with them?
Proactive in what way?
So proactive in teaching them spirituality. And I think that when we talk about spirituality, I think this is one of that point where we need to probably make a differentiation between what is spirituality versus religion. When we talk about spirituality, in my sense, is, I feel like when kids are born, they come with their full sense of spirituality. But as they grow up, there are layers of things that being put on them from the world, so it makes them, so they start to have all these different constrictions, and restrictions to them. But when you start teaching the kids, don't undermine that. Start teaching the kids at that very beginning to say, hey, there is a higher God. It's not about the rituals, it's not about the other thing. It's number one to say there is a higher God that we all depend on, that gives us everything that we have. So they should understand that there's a connection, that we are not just on our own. There's a force that really controls us and depends on us. I think that's number one.
Not depends on us, that we depend on.
Sorry, that we depend on. That's what I mean, baby.
Right.
Yeah, we depend on. So that's number one. Number two, also to realize that, you know, we also that this supreme being does not just help individually, like, you know, just help like, oh, I'll give you bread today, give bread, but it works through other people. So that in that case, they can start to have empathy, but also know that they are a conduit and not just a receiver. Because when you start to say, hey, when God, if you need bread, God can show somebody bread to give it to you. Just like if you have bread, it may be God wanting you also to give it to that person. Right. So it's teaching them that act of giving to make sure that blessings are always flowing. But also, it is my feeling that when we have that, it also gives a kid a well-balanced life emotionally, because kids that are more spiritual, they tend to be less depressed and anxious down the road, because they know where to turn to when they need help.
So,
what do you think? I mean, you sound like...
Okay, so what I think is, when you talk about helping a child or teaching a child to be spiritual, and it's a connection with a higher being, that's not exactly, or that's not just, you know, conclusive to Christianity. That could be Judaism, that could be Islam, because all of those religions believe in a higher being. Even like you can even get into like
I think
Buddhist and you talk. There's so many religions that believe in a higher being. So I think that's just one layer of. That's just very broad.
So that's very broad, but now you can always narrow it down to yours, right?
Right.
So the key thing is to realize that there is a supreme being, and we being Christians will try to make them understand that this supreme being is God, our Father, and through Jesus Christ. And so when we can bring that, but these are spiritual laws that works across the board, right? Okay. So you don't really need to be a Christian for you to benefit from those type of
and that's what I wanted to hear you say. That's what I was really going for.
Yeah.
I think it's important that kids understand that there is a God, and they understand that, you know, you cannot see God, but you can feel him, and you can see him in his creation.
Yeah.
You can see him when you go to the beach in the waves, the way the waves stop at a certain the boundaries. You can see him in the stars, the moon. Like you can see him, you know, when the wind rustles the leaves on the tree. Like
with nature, so they become more in tune with nature. So, they, become more empathetic to animals and
God
things like that.
God is in us, and he is also all around us.
Yes.
You can see him, or you can feel him in your mother's hug, or, you know, in the generosity that you give to a stranger. Kindness, like, I think that's... Like
Christ is love, that we can say that, right? And every time you're expressing love, you're expressing Christ.
Right. So so I think that's important. But when we...
But the question, baby, that I do have is, this is good, but this is, so now we've always had, like I grew up in a Catholic school, went to a boarding school and everything, but we had strict rules and regulations that we follow. So by the time now we became teenagers, we start to rebel from those things.
So so you're saying that because you grew up in a very strict Catholic situation, that when you came of age and you started questioning things and see, some contradictions, that you rebel. You want to find out things for yourself.
Exactly. So that is why it's important that, I'm not saying that rituals are bad. But when you're doing rituals, you should try to differentiate with your kid why you're doing what you're doing, so that it becomes something that they're freely enjoying, that it's not just a chore. Because we've been seeing that even in our own Christian life, like we go to Catholic church. If I ask somebody during the mass, like, what is even the most important thing in a mass, they may not even know, because it's just a routine. So when you do routine, it doesn't register, and then it just looks like a chore.
It takes away the feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's like, think about it. Like sometimes when you're driving home from work or from school, it's like you can do that on autopilot. Like you don't even need to think about it. Like sometimes I'll just get in the car and I'll automatically start going to, wherever I go at the first place in the morning. And I feel like that's what religion is.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're Catholic.
Yes.
Because everything is kind of like the same every service, right? And so it becomes like, it's like you're on autopilot. You're not even feeling, like you don't have, like your heart is not into it, right? It's like a mindless, just something you do to kind of just check the box. And I think when it comes to children as Christians, we have to be real with our children. Like we have to be real.
We shouldn't underestimate what our kids can understand.
Right. And then you shouldn't underestimate your testimony also. Like I feel like we all have a testimony.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't want to cut you. One of the ways that you can know that kids are very spiritual, because spirituality is something you cannot really understand with your physical mind, right? Mm-hmm. But you see, kids are more in tune with like hero movies, right? Hero show, because they see all these powers and all of this, like superheroes and things like that, because they can see all these powers and things like that, and it resonates with them because there's something in them telling them that is possible, and you see, and they make believe with those things. But now when you start to grow older and you have all these different veils being put on you, they start to say, no, that's not possible.
Kids, their imagination.
Exactly, because that shows their spirituality.
Imagination. And I think that's why it's important that you start young. You start really young. I mean, we start educating our children young. Like you expect for them to, you start with your ABCs and then your 1, 2, 3s, and you expect, when they're of a certain age that they can read and they can write. We have all of these guidelines when it comes to, what a child should be able to do by a certain age. I think it should be the same when it comes to spirituality and teaching our children about, what we believe in Christianity, teaching our children about God and Christ. But I think on a practical level, I was saying that you have to be honest with your children.
Yeah.
You have to be honest. You have to. I'm not saying you need to tell your children. You have to be appropriate for their age level. Like you wouldn't tell a 5-year-old, all the wild things you did in college and how God delivered you from that.
Yeah.
But that's something that you might share with a teenager. Like you have to be honest with them. You have to say, hey, mommy used to be a very selfish person. I wasn't always nice. I didn't always share, or I used to be really greedy. And, God came into my life and he saved me and he changed me.
Yeah.
And now, an opportunity, like, we talked about tithing before in one of our previous chats, and that was a good conversation that we had. And I said that I saw my parents tithe. So you want your children to see you do it.
So that's one of the things what it says called passive learning, right?
Yeah, passive learning.
You're not telling the kids what to do, but you're showing them what to do, but not forcing them what to do.
Right.
So they can see, and then you want to see the benefit in your life. Like my mom was a giver, right?
Right.
You see that she's always loved to give, and I see how it benefits her.
Right.
So now it becomes easy for me to want to give because I saw that in her. But she never came and said, hey, you have to go and give. But when I see how it benefits her life, then it makes me want to do that.
Yeah, so you saw your mom give, and then you saw her reap the benefits of giving, even if you were not like connecting the dots as a child.
Yeah.
But as you got older, you got to see that she benefited from that.
Yeah.
Now, I've had conversations with people, and a lot of times it's a guy. And the guy will say...
Are you talking to guys?
Baby, stop. And a lot of times, the guy will say something of the effect that he watched his grandmother or his mom. She always went to church. She was saved, but she was poor, or she lived a horrible life, or maybe she died too early, and that's why he doesn't believe in God. And I haven't had a female say that to me, but I have had a couple guys say that to me.
So it's because now there's a bitterness coming in them, but that was because they did not understand the spirituality part, right? So it wasn't, so the foundation was faulty to begin with. So now that's why they said spirituality, you cannot reason it with a physical mind.
Right.
So now when they try to understand that, they can't really get it. And the thing about it is that most of the time there's a difference between being moral and being spiritual.
Oh,
Most of our parents back in the day, they were being moral, and God's mercy will abound on them, but they were not reaping the benefit of spirituality. They were just working on salvation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is a whole different situation. But if you look at the prayer, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, that will, kingdom come, that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Which means that it is the intention of God that the will of that whatever is happening on earth should be what is happening on in heaven. So we should bring heaven here, which means that we should start enjoying those benefits right here.
Right.
But because of religion, people were limited, and they felt like, oh, I just have to be good. I don't need to request for things. But which is another topic.
So that's absolutely another topic, because there's levels to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot say, I watched my grandma go to church every Sunday and she still was poor, because going to church is only a baby. That's the bare.
But you see, going to church now, that's just that's just rituals, right?
Yeah, that's the bare minimum of spirituality.
Exactly.
There's so many other things, like, and I didn't get into it, like, hey, well, did you ever see your grandma read the Bible?
You see.
Or what about pray, or blah, 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 or all these other things. But people equate, because you go to church every Sunday, that there
Which
should
is
be...
not, And if you start to feel like you have to go to church every Sunday, then, like you make it like, I have to. Like this is a duty, but not something that comes from love. Then it becomes, therefore that's restricting. So religion restricts you. Spirituality frees you. That's what Jesus Christ said. I came to bring...
Yeah. But we're not saying that you should not take your child to church.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. But it's to develop the love in them so that they are doing it. So you're not forcing them, but you're passively teaching them. And you're always telling about the benefit you're getting without forcing the thing down their throat.
You do,
so they can see that and see in your life without... Because if something is true, you don't even need to push it down their throat. But you can give your testimony pass, and they can listen to it, and they can see it work.
Yeah, you don't want to ever force religion, or I don't want to say religion. You don't ever want to force spirituality down your child's throat. You don't ever want to say, you have to do this, you have to do that. And if your child has questions about, God or spirituality, or if they have some doubts or whatever the case may be, that's an opportunity for you to talk to them and talk some things through, and you can pray with them and pray for them and go to different scriptures. That's not an opportunity to say, hey, you must do this and you must do that. No, every child is going to become an adult, and every child, when they become of a certain age, have their own choice. And I feel like when it comes to children, the best thing you can do, if you want your child to be a Christian and be a spiritual person, is you need to be a good example. A lot of parents will say, do what I say and not what I do. You cannot tell your children
that's being religious, right?
But not necessarily,
because
you can't tell your child not to lie.
But then you lie. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, when a spirituality, you have to see the effect in people.
Right.
Yeah, you cannot say you're spiritual and you only know the knowledge and I don't see the effect in you. Like, for example, my daughter, what did she say when I started growing spiritual? She liked me better. She felt like I was more patient. I was more this. But I didn't have to come and tell her that I was being patient.
She saw the fruits of the Spirit, but she didn't even know that that's what she was seeing. It's like, you should see when God comes into your life, you don't stay the same. Even your children, and even if you were saved before you had children, or when they were really young, your children should still see and feel and enjoy the fruits of the Spirit coming from you. Like, they should see your children. Is so, especially as you get older, it's hard for you to hide who you really are from your children. It is hard. You cannot be a thief, a liar, a cheater, and hide that from your children. Your children will catch on eventually. The best thing you can do is live a moral life, is to live a life where you are trying to live the way
And
Christ lived.
and I think especially in today's world where there's a lot of bombardment with informations and things like that, and people trying to be perfect also and things like that. And so when you can tell your child that I struggle, and they see you struggling, then it is okay. And which means you have to cut them some slack also, because from where I grew up, like in Cameroon, we don't place, your dad could be smoking and see you smoking and whoop you off for smoking, which that would be hypocrisy, right?
Right.
But over here, yes, when I smoke, I'm telling my kids like, hey, smoking is bad, but I'm struggling. Help me. So now it became a family affair to help me quit. So now they saw that, although somebody may look at that and like, no, but you see, they can see that, hey, I depended, and they saw all the struggle. Then when the Holy Spirit at work, they could always remember like, wow, yeah, we try to help that, it didn't work. But that time he used the Holy Spirit, it worked. Let me use it now.
Right, and it becomes a part of your
testimony. It becomes part of that
and
testimony.
They get to see it. And that is so true, baby. That is so, so true. A lot of times people try to portray that Christians are perfect.
Yeah.
And like when you were saying, when you became of a certain age, you rebelled. I think that's kind of normal. But
the rebellion is normal, but the rebellion is also because they were trying to tell you that
they were perfect. So
now when you've reached that teenage age where it's a time where you ask a lot of critical questions, and when you look through that lens, you're like, no, they were a bunch of hypocrites. So now you're like, so now you're like, why would I want to do that? They were hypocrites. But if I saw them struggle through that mistake and allowed them to see them grow, they said, no, they were not hypocrites. There was something to benefit. Yes, I can still enjoy life and still do these things. So
but
now,
if they would have been honest with you about what they were, about what their struggles were, what they were really going through.
All right, baby. Let's close this up with one thing your dad told you that
what
that it was really a lie, but you discovered it later.
Okay, this is tough because, how do I say this? My dad is a Christian, and he's like a for real Christian, like a spiritual man, and I cannot think of anything, and I'm being so honest. I cannot think of anything.
It's some make believe. Okay, let me give you a simple one. Like my dad, like for example, if you come back home and it's not about spirituality, I'm just about regular life, right? Like if you come back home, like if I do well in soccer, my dog's like, oh, do you know I used to be like the best soccer player? Oh, yeah, things like that. Yeah,
my dad didn't do stuff like that, baby.
Well, your dad didn't lie like that. Well, because he got girls only. Yeah, so maybe.
Not only. I just don't think that was like a part of his personality. Not to say that he was like perfect, but he didn't. I think that he set a really good example for what a Christian was. The only thing I would say is that I probably perceived him as being like perfect. So when you have like, even speaking to your children.
So therefore that also was, that was a mistake, right? So that's exactly what we just talked about, because he'll probably try to hide all of his mistakes thinking that he's doing that for your benefit.
Right.
But he is a detriment, but it is not working for you. He's stealing from you.
Right. Because when something does happen, like the Bible tells us that a righteous man falls 7 times, right? And gets back up. I feel like my children, at least my older children, they've seen me fall, and they've seen me get back up again. And I have to have like an honest conversation about that. That God does not expect you to be perfect. God takes you just the way you are. If you have a deficiency, if there's something that is not like what the world would call normal, or something that you would try to hide, you cannot hide that from God. And that's called being open and being honest. Yeah. And I think that the biggest overarching thing, I'm going to say it again, is you have to be an example. If there's something that is, a deficiency or something that you're failing on, or something that God is really working on you with, you need to work on that. Because if you don't work on that, those things are going to become patterns for your children.
For your children, yeah, and that's how patterns develop.
So yeah, if you don't tackle it, then your child will probably have to tackle it.
Good, good. So let's wrap this up. Well, this is a very, very nice conversation. I know this is one of those conversations that can go forever and ever, right? Because it's really, really deep. Just like the last one also, we could have gone really forever. But these are things that we all face. These are questions that we all ask. Right. And these are things that we all struggle with. We are not perfect. We are all struggling. So we want to hear your thoughts. How do you deal with your children when it comes to spirituality? What do you feel like your role? The role of spirituality in your kids? Are they too young to understand it? Do you feel like this is the time to do it? We want to hear what you guys have to say. And again, please do not forget to share, like, and comment, and just provoke conversation among your community about it. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for all the nice comments and the warm likes. They didn't get 30 likes last time, so I didn't have to sing.
Good.
All right.
Good.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.